Alright, according to Streamlabs OBS, I am currently recording. So, good morning everybody. Welcome to Terra Nova Tuesday for the 12th month and the 6th day. That would be December 6th for those of you who speak English and are not awake way earlier than you normally are. So yes, it is the 6th of December 2022, and we are talking about how this 600-year-old English coin ended up in Newfoundland. So, just to take away the thumb here. Good morning. I would thoroughly appreciate it if you guys would go to that Rumble link and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subs there so that I can share my deepest and most sincere thoughts with you. In other words, I want to get away from the censorship of YouTube and actually be able to share my more unvarnished opinions about things. I already do a Rumble exclusive series called For Fuck's Sake Friday, where I generally go off about the various stories in the news for that week. But today, we're actually doing something a little happier. So, the Newfoundland and Labrador government has released a has sent out a news release on the 9th of November, talking about a gold coin that was recently discovered on Newfoundland's south coast. And it may be the oldest known English coin found in an archaeological context in Canada. The coin was found during the summer of 2022, earlier this summer, by Edward Hines, who reported it to the provincial government as required under the Historic Resources Act. Consultation with Paul Berry, former curator of the Bank of Canada's Currency Museum, indicates the coin is a Henry VI quarter noble, which would have been minted in London sometime between 1422 and 1427. The coin would have been a sizable amount of money in the 1400s, valued at 1 shilling 8 pence. At this point, I feel it necessary to put myself back on camera to point out that any amount of gold in any era has always been a, quote, sizable amount of money. Anyway, to continue. Prior to this, in 2021, a silver coin minted in the 1490s was found at Cupid's Cove Plantation Provincial Historic Site. At that time, it was considered the oldest English coin ever found in Canada. Exactly how the gold quarter noble coin made its way to Newfoundland and Labrador is a mystery. However, Mr. Berry says the coin was probably not in circulation when it was lost. I'm not quite sure how that's intended to be read. Not in circulation, does that mean it wasn't considered legal tender, or does that mean that it was pulled from circulation and this was something someone had collected? There's no real way to know for sure. Research is continuing on the coin, and further work on the site where it was found may be conducted in the future. The Honourable Steve Crocker, Minister of Tourism, Culture, Arts and Recreation for the Liberal government currently, was quoted as saying, "I commend Mr. Hines for recognizing the importance of protecting Newfoundland and Labrador's heritage resources by reporting his discovery of this very rare artifact, and I encourage others to follow his example. These types of artifacts help us understand and appreciate the history of our province and provide context for those who visit Newfoundland and Labrador from around the world. While that is true, I will bring my face back just to point out, it is also extremely important that Newfoundland children learn the context of their homeland. We are a unique ethnicity in the world here in Newfoundland. We're the first English overseas colony, or at least the first in the New World. We are unique in that hospitality is not only something we practice, it is something we preach. And take the events of 9/11, when the play Come From Away is based on, and you begin to get an understanding of how important hospitality is on a cultural level in Newfoundland. But just to return to the story, and this is actually a different article, a little bit newer, about 2 weeks newer. So how did this 600-year-old coin end up in Newfoundland? I do apologize if the resolution is a bit screwy on this. I'm still boomering my way through some of the features So I will get there eventually. But minted under Henry VI, it may be the oldest English coin discovered in Canada. Over the summer, an amateur historian in Newfoundland unearthed a 600-year-old gold coin. According to officials, the find was minted in, okay, we've covered this. Making the discovery, history buff Edward Hines reported the coin. Commendation quote, coin was found in excellent condition. It came out of the ground looking like it had been minted yesterday. With all those wrinkled edges, I would be somewhat shocked if it actually did. But we'll leave that aside. But it was found in very excellent condition, considering how old it is. And this is according to the provincial archaeologist, Jamie Brake. Now, this is not capitalized, so I'm guessing this is not an actual title. I think he's probably just an archaeologist in the province. But after consulting Paul Berry, a former curator of the Bank of Canada's Currency Museum, officials determined the coin the officials didn't determine shit. Paul Berry determined this, that the coin dates back to the reign of Henry VI, and it's known as a quarter noble, which would have been 1 shilling 8 pence, which means a noble at the time would have been 4 shillings 32 pence. Which, of course, again, they're calling a significant amount of money in the 1400s. And again, I feel the need to point out that a gold coin is a significant amount of money no matter when you find it. The discovery comes about a year after a silver coin was unearthed in Newfoundland at Cupid's Cove, so this is really just the same. Okay, here we get a little bit of history here. The quarter noble was minted about 70 years before explorer John Cabot, also known as Giovanni Caboto, arrived in Newfoundland in 1497. However, that does not mean the coin itself arrived before Cabot, because time travel isn't a fucking thing. Brake adds, the coin's owner could have brought it over later. It's quite likely. It's also potentially possible that there was more interplay between the continents than was known. We are still discovering some connections to Vikings here in Newfoundland. We know that there was a colony at the Lansa Meadows site that was discovered in the 1970s, I believe. One thing I do like here is part of this comment, and they do point out here that Henry was the but talking about the origin of the coin, one cannot help but wonder at the journey it made. And that's true. It's very interesting. The newly discovered gold coin was found somewhere along Newfoundland's south coast, though officials are not disclosing the exact location to avoid attracting treasure hunters, which is very smart. How the coin made its way to Newfoundland's coast is likely a mystery, or likely to remain a mystery. In the meantime, analysis is ongoing and a more formal archaeological dig may happen later on. One tends to hope. After research is complete, the coin will likely go on display at the Rooms, a natural and cultural history museum in the province. And just to give you an idea of what the rooms look like, which fills me with a little bit of pride and disturbance. I will flip this up, and I'm actually going to give you guys a little bit of context about Henry VI before I end here. But this is a view from inside the rooms. I personally have taken pictures from this, pretty much the exact position that this person is standing in, of people in silhouette. It's a very attractive building. Okay, let me see if I can find a picture. Here we are. This is the Rooms. Now, it's called the Rooms because it's based on the design of old fishing stages, which were called fishing rooms. Okay. The architecture is a blend of modern and nearly ancient. It's quite nice, actually. It's a very nice building to move around in. They have... My apologies if you're hearing fan noise. Let me just change windows again. Oops. There we are. And of course, there were facts about Henry VI. His father was a great warrior, Henry V, who has a Shakespearean play written for him. I believe Henry II does as well. Henry was nearly King of England and France. His parents fell in love at first sight. Well, that may or may not be true. But Henry was described as Henry V. Never even met his father. Henry VI was just a few months old when his father croaked. Okay, so this is a pretty crass... that's just cute. But this is a pretty crass bit of articling here. And let me see. Okay, so here's something that I think we should know. That Henry VI holds two important distinctions in history. He was the youngest king of England ever, and the only king of England to become king of France as well. Pretty cool, but all downhill from there. Well, okay, fine. Anyway, to put me back on screen, to finish this up. One of the things that I've always been... Let me just close these windows so my fan settles down. One of the things I've always been very interested in is Newfoundland history, the lore of Newfoundland. Not necessarily only history, lore, legend, and folklore is also one of the passions of my life, one of my hobbies. It is not uncommon for people to get together and share stories about our homeland when we gather for whatever reason. And one of the things that does fill me with a degree of ethnic pride is that Newfoundlanders, when we meet each other, when we're in a new part of Newfoundland, one of the things that is generally done is that we will tell each other stories about where we're from. Sometimes they can be happy bits of bullshit. Sometimes they can be ghost stories, any number of local legends or lore, local history, all sorts of things. And when you are in one of the oldest parts of the New World, one of the longest settled parts of the New World, if not the longest settled part of the New World, at least as far as European explorers go, it's often easy to overlook how very important our history and lore really are. And this is one of the reasons why I say that Newfoundland is an ethnicity all its own, is because we have legends of fairy creatures from the old world, the redcaps, for example, and changelings, things like that. And because our heritage is a blend of pretty much the entirety of the British Isles, as well as some French, some other mixed European, it's very important that we keep that alive, because if a people dies out, their culture goes with them, generally. Now, when it comes to Newfoundlanders, we do have a propensity for spreading out, and this statistic is about 20 years old at this point, but between 1912 and about 2002, roughly 1 million Newfoundlanders had left home for work and never returned. One of my friends in college, in I suppose what could be described as a drunken orgy of statisticianry, decided to work out what that meant in terms of Newfoundland's population spread, and he basically worked it out that you can't go anywhere on this planet, and if Newfoundlanders were spread evenly, be more than 5 kilometers from a Newfoundlander. I found that very amusing, and it's one of those little pieces of stats that has stuck with me. In any case, folks, that's it for me today. Again, I will ask you to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Do please check out the Rumble link in the the description, and as you can see it on screen. Please subscribe. I very badly want to be able to share my unvarnished opinions on a lot of topics, and it looks like Rumble is going to be the place to do that. In much the same way that Getter was a relatively good competitor to Twitter until Elon took it over, it looks like YouTube is either going to have to be bought out or... Well, it looks like if YouTube is not purchased by someone who is dedicated to the liberal ideals of free speech and free expression, then we're going to have to go somewhere else. And it looks like Rumble is the place. In any case, I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Goodbye.